A new guard shows up at a cash truck company. Silent, cold, no past. His co-workers laugh at the old man who barely scraped through the tests. But very soon, they'll see something that freezes the blood in their veins. Because this quiet newcomer didn't come here for a paycheck. He came to find and destroy the men who took away what he loved most. And to do it, he's ready to burn everything down. His name is Patrick Hill, but everyone just calls him H. He takes a job at a firm that moves cash, millions of dollars in armored trucks through the streets of Los Angeles. In his interview, he posts average scores, barely passing the shooting test. The instructors just shrug. He'll do. They have no idea who they've just let into their ranks. His co-workers give him a cold welcome. A young partner nicknamed Bullet takes him under his wing and shows him the ropes. The other guards mock the new guy, hang an insulting nickname on him, test how much he can take. H swallows all of it in silence, stone-faced. It's like he isn't even here. His mind is somewhere far away, somewhere that turned an ordinary man into a cold machine with a single purpose. His very first day on the job changes everything. Their armored truck is hit by armed robbers, masked professionals moving fast and hard. His co-workers panic, ready to hand over the cash and beg for their lives. The robbers are certain they hold all the power, but the newcomer calmly steps out of the truck, and what happens next will make everyone who survives never look at him the same way again. He moves without a single wasted motion. Cold, precise, merciless, he guns down the entire crew of robbers in a matter of seconds. No fear, no hesitation, no missed shots. One moment he was an unremarkable old man. Now he stands among the bodies like an angel of death. His partners are stunned. Who is this man? Where does an ordinary cash guard get skills like these? The answer will be more terrifying than they can imagine. Word of the new hero guard tears through the whole firm. The bosses are thrilled, the co-workers stunned, and a little horrified. Nobody understands where he came from, and H stays as unreadable as ever. He takes no joy, no pride. To him, this bloodbath is no heroics. It's just the first step toward the goal he put on this uniform for. And that goal is revenge. To understand who H really is, you have to go back to another life. It turns out the quiet guard is no guard at all. He's a powerful, dangerous man from the criminal underworld, the head of his own organization, a man feared and respected by serious people. And the fact that he took a low-paying job as a plain cash guard is part of a carefully built plan. A plan born from unbearable pain. A few months ago, his life was different. He had a son, a young kid he was prouder of than anything in the world. There was a special bond between them. H, a man from a world of violence, dreamed of shielding the boy from that world. He wanted a normal, clean life for his son. He never imagined that one day his own world would take the child from him. On that fateful day, H was driving his son around on errands. An ordinary trip through the city, and of all the rotten luck, at that exact moment and that exact spot, a crew of robbers was hitting an armored cash truck. A simple coincidence. A cruel twist of fate that threw together two people who never should have met. A father, a son, and killers armed to the teeth. Everything went wrong. Something spooked the robbers and wild gunfire broke out. Bullets flew in every direction, and one of the crew, giving into panic, coldly gunned down the random bystanders to leave no extra witnesses, including the unarmed boy. H's son died right there in his arms in the middle of the street for nothing, and the father, riddled with bullets, survived by a miracle. H clawed his way back from death. But the man who lived was already someone else. A part of him died with his son. All that remained was a cold, all-consuming rage and one single thought. Find the ones who did this and make them pay. Not by the law, by his law. He calls in every connection, every resource of his empire. From now on, his whole life bends to one thing: revenge. But the killers aren't easy to find. They left no trail. The police are helpless. There are no witnesses. H knows only one thing. It was a professional crew that worked cash trucks. And so he comes up with a bold plan. If he can't find the robbers from the outside, he'll become bait from the inside. He'll take a job as a cash guard himself and wait for the killers to hunt again. And then he'll be right there. That's why a powerful crime boss puts on the uniform of a rank-and-file guard and endures his co-workers' jabs. Every run for him isn't a job. It's an ambush. He studies everyone around him, hunts for clues, replays that fateful day in his head. He's ready to haul other people's money for years, if only to one day meet the men who killed his son again. And his patience, his cold calm, unnerve even his own people. At the same time, H runs another hunt. Using his connections in the criminal world, he squeezes information out of anyone who might know something about the raid. He interrogates, threatens, stops at nothing. Methodically, he narrows the circle, cutting away the false leads. Slowly but surely, he closes in on the truth. And that truth will lead him to people he never expected to see. Now let's meet the men he's hunting. These aren't ordinary street thugs. This is a crew of ex-soldiers, veterans of war zones, trained, disciplined, deadly. Coming home from war, they found no place in civilian life, no work, no money, no thanks from the country they fought for. And so they decided to take what they believed they were owed. This crew has a leader, a calculating, cold-blooded commander who holds his men in an iron fist. He plans every robbery like a military operation, recon, timing, escape routes. His men trust him without question. For a long time, they worked clean, no casualties, taking the money and vanishing into the city. They took pride in their professionalism, right up until the day it all fell apart. But among them is one, the most unpredictable and vicious, the one who loses his head far too easily, the one who, in the critical moment, will pull the trigger without a second thought. It was him who panicked that fateful day and gunned down the witnesses. It was his bullet that killed H's son. His own crew is horrified by what he did, because with it he brought a deadly threat down on all of them. The crew understands. They crossed a line. Killing random people and a child on top of that isn't just a crime, it's a mark. Now they'll be hunted not only by cops, but by far more terrifying forces. Tension builds inside the team. Some want to lie low, others want to go all the way, and their leader feels a shadow gathering behind him. He doesn't know that shadow's name yet, but soon he will. Meanwhile, things aren't simple at H's job either. After that bloodbath with the robbers, it isn't just admiring coworkers watching him. It's suspicious people too. Someone starts to suspect the newcomer is nothing like who he claims to be. They whisper behind his back, they dig. H feels those stares. He plays his role flawlessly, but he knows his time is running out. And the cash firm isn't clean either. It turns out someone on the inside is feeding the robbers information, schedules, routes, amounts. There's a mole, a traitor helping the crew clean out its own company. H, with his predator's instinct, quickly realizes their own people are involved. And that thread could lead him straight to his son's killers. Quietly, invisibly, he begins to pull on it. He sets a test. He deliberately provokes a situation to draw the traitor out of the shadows. He lays traps, watches, cross-checks. One wrong move by the mole, and H gets the name he needs. He's patient as a spider in its web. He knows sooner or later the threads will meet, and the one who betrayed his own will lead him to the men who killed his son. The circle begins to close. The crew of ex-soldiers, meanwhile, is preparing its most daring job yet. After everything went wrong, they need money more than ever. To go to ground, disappear, start over, and they're reaching for a haul they never even dared to dream of before. A massive sum, serious security, maximum risk. It'll be either their triumph or their end. They don't yet know the end is already decided. She senses the climax is near. All his effort, all his surveillance, all his patience is about to pay off. He's pinned down both the traitor inside the firm and the crew's signature from the outside. Now all he needs is to wait for the moment his son's killers go out on a job again, and to be there, face to face with them. He hones his plan to a razor's edge and prepares for the end. The day of the big robbery arrives. The crew rolls out in full force, a carefully planned operation, dozens of men, heavy weapons. Their target is the firm's main vault, and where tens of millions are kept. They're certain they've thought of everything, but they didn't account for one thing. Among those who'll stand in their path is a man who has waited years for exactly this meeting, and for whom this stopped being about money long ago. From the very start, nothing goes the robbers' way. It's as if someone foresaw their every move. They're met by people who are ready and the resistance is unexpectedly brutal. A coordinated military operation turns into chaos and a slaughter. Bullets, blasts, screams. Professionals used to controlling everything suddenly realize control is slipping from their hands. Someone wrecked their perfect plan, and that someone is already among them. In the very heart of this hell is H. At last, he's where he dreamed of being all these months, face to face with his son's killers. And now the cold machine of vengeance unfolds in all its terrible power. Methodically, one by one, he picks off the members of the crew. For him, this isn't a fight for money, it's payback. Every shot is for his boy, who died in his arms. A true bloodbath begins. H moves through the gunfire with inhuman calm, like death itself. Bullets whistle around him, men fall on both sides, but he's driven by a single purpose. The ex-soldiers who thought themselves elite meet for the first time someone more terrifying than all of them combined. Their numbers and their training are powerless against a man who has nothing left to lose and no reason to live but revenge. The crew begins to grasp the scale of the disaster. Their perfect robbery has turned into a trap. Their men fall one after another, and it finally dawns on them. This is no accident, no bad luck. Someone came for them on purpose. Someone knew. In panic, they try to work out who sold them out, who this devil is that's methodically wiping them out. But there's no time left to solve the riddle. The truth about the traitor surfaces too. That same mole inside the firm who fed the crew information for years ends up at the dead center of the reckoning. His double game is exposed, and he realizes he's caught between two fires. He tries to save his own skin, to maneuver, to cut a deal. But to H, he's just one more link in the chain that led to his son's death. And that link has to answer too. One by one, the members of the crew meet their end. Those who planned it, those who covered it, those who pulled the triggers. Payback catches them all. H feels no joy, no satisfaction, only a cold inevitability. He doesn't take revenge in a fury. He simply carries out the thing he survived for, methodically closing the account. And with each fallen enemy, he draws nearer to the one who matters most, the man who killed his son. And now he stands one-on-one with that very killer, with the man whose bullet ended his boy's life, with the psychopath who panicked and gunned down the unarmed. The moment H has waited for every single second of these months has finally come. Everything else ceases to exist. There's only him, his son's killer, and a debt that has to be collected. The air seems to freeze before the final reckoning. The killer understands who stands before him and why. He sees his own death in H's eyes and realizes there's nowhere to run. Everything he did that day has come back to him in the shape of this silent avenger. He tries to say something, to explain, to bargain for his life, but words are powerless here. Some things can't be fixed or atoned for, and some debts are paid only in blood. The reckoning comes. The man who took H's son meets his end at the hands of the grief-stricken father. In that moment, there's no triumph, no relief. There's only a terrible, final silence. H has done the thing he lived for all these months. He walked through hell, became an instrument of death, gave everything of himself to this revenge. And now that it's over, he's left alone with the emptiness. He stands in the middle of a battlefield strewn with bodies. It's done. The killers are punished. The account is closed. Justice, his own brutal justice, has prevailed. But did it bring his son back? No. Did it fill the hole in his soul? No. Revenge fed his rage, but it couldn't resurrect the boy. H got the very thing he chased, and he understood that it changes nothing. This is the bitter truth about revenge. It doesn't heal and it doesn't return anything. It only burns to ash the one who gives himself to it. H sacrificed everything, his old life, his future, his very self, to restore the balance. And he did restore it, but the price turned out to be beyond measure. He won, but there wasn't a drop of joy in that victory, only weight and emptiness. And it all began with a single cruel coincidence, with a crew of robbers and an ordinary father and son ending up in the same place at the same time, with the panic of one psychopath who pulled the trigger. None of them knew whose life they were shattering that day. They didn't pick H as their target, but by killing his son, they picked the most terrible end possible for themselves. And that's the central lesson of this story. You never know whose life you're breaking when you pull the trigger. You don't know who stands behind a random victim. The robbers thought they were killing a nameless witness, but in truth, they killed the son of a man capable of wiping every last one of them off the face of the earth alone. They crossed the wrong man, and they paid for it with everything. H's story is a story about what a father is capable of when he loses his child. There's no force more terrible or unstoppable than grief turned to rage. No army, no money, no walls will save you from a man who has nothing left to lose. He will come. He will find you. And he won't stop until he's done the thing he keeps breathing for. An enemy like that can't be bought or frightened off. The quiet newcomer his fellow cash guards laughed at turned out to be the most dangerous man any of them had ever met. Behind his unreadable face hid a depth of pain and resolve they couldn't even imagine. They saw an old man who barely passed his tests, but in truth, death itself had been walking beside them all this time, waiting for its hour. And that hour has come. The film gives us no comforting ending. There's no happy conclusion here, no redemption, no light at the end of the tunnel. There's only a man who did what he had to do and was left alone with it. It's an honest, harsh account of the cost of revenge, of the fact that even the most just reckoning can't bring back what was taken. And that victory is sometimes indistinguishable from defeat. Everyone who stood in H's path underestimated him. The instructors who condescendingly gave him a pass. The coworkers who hung an insulting nickname on him. The robbers who saw in him only a random obstacle. The traitor who thought he'd outsmarted everyone. They all made the same mistake. They looked at a quiet, unremarkable man and failed to see the monster behind him, the one they woke themselves. He never sought this war. Once he was just a father who dreamed of shielding his son from the darkness of his world. He wanted a better fate for the boy, but fate ruled otherwise, and the darkness he'd fled took from him the thing he loved most. And then the man had nothing left but to become that darkness himself and bring it down on the heads of the guilty. That's why this story is impossible to forget. It isn't about a slick hero or an easy victory of good over evil. It's about a simple, terrible truth. Don't wake the sleeping beast. Don't take from a man the thing he lives for, or you'll get an enemy that nothing can stop. The robbers took H's son, and in doing so, they signed their own death warrant without even knowing it. The quiet cash guard no one took seriously wiped out an entire crew of professional killers, plus a traitor on top of it, alone. Not for money, not for glory, but for the memory of a boy who died in his arms. He chose revenge and paid for it with himself. But those who deserved it got exactly what was coming, every last one. They picked the wrong victim on that fateful day. They thought they were killing an unarmed witness, a random passerby, but they killed the son of a man whose rage knows no limits. And that mistake cost them everything. Because the most dangerous creature on earth isn't a soldier or a gangster. It's a father whose child has been taken and who has nothing left.